The Last Clue is a production of Smith Media Team, LLC. If you have any information about this case, please call 911 or the Madison Police Department. Listener discretion is advised.
We are revisiting a story that shocked the country more than a decade ago, and now it has reared its ugly head all over again.
Yep, kind of breaking news here.
Morgan Geyser, one of the women convicted in the infamous 2014 Slender Man stabbing, is missing. Authorities report that she cut off her GPS monitoring bracelet and disappeared from a supervised group home in Wisconsin.
So, not necessarily greatly supervised. Sorry if that's going to offend anyone. And now she might be missing from where she's supposed to be, but I wouldn't classify her as endangered and missing. I would classify her more as on the run.
But to understand why her disappearance matters and honestly what's at stake here, let's go back to where it all started.
Let's go.
In May of 2014, two 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire, lured their friend into the woods in suburban Wisconsin under the belief that they needed to please a fictional internet figure known as Slender Man. Once they were in the woods, Geyser stabbed their friend Peyton Leitner 19 times.
Ugh.
Miraculously, Leitner survived. So at the trial, Geyser and Wire pleaded not guilty by reason of mental illness. In 2017, Geyser was committed to a psychiatric institute and sentenced to what has been described as a, quote, 40-year mental health commitment, end quote. It's not where that ends.
No.
This crime ignited an intense public fascination, kind of like a horrifying intersection of youthful delusion, mental illness, and the power of internet myth.
That still goes on today.
So after years at the Winnebago Mental Health Institute, a judge approved Geyser's conditional release just this year.
Mm-hmm.
The plan? Move her to a group home under supervision, wearing a GPS monitor to track her location.
Well,
yeah. Her attorney and 3 psychologists testified that she has made significant mental health progress. But as with anything, her release sparked controversy. Some state officials raised red flags about her behavior and some of her communications, including unreported relationships and disturbing art.
There's a lot to be said here and could go on a full-on rabbit hole deep dive that segues into rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. Oh, goodness.
A judge overseeing her release acknowledged the severity of her past crime. I would hope so.
Yeah.
But said she had, quote, gone through treatment, end quote, and needed the opportunity to re-enter society. Well, she took that to heart.
Yeah, that she made that real literal, and she did it on her own damn terms, as she seems to pretty much do life, which she should have done in the first place.
When her placement was formally approved, the group home chosen in Sun Prairie raised alarm among local residents worried about proximity to children and public safety.
And rightfully so.
because yesterday, November 22nd, Geyser was last seen around 8 p.m. near Cronky Drive with an adult acquaintance, and it was since discovered that she removed her GPS monitoring bracelet and left the group home. Now, November 22nd at 8 p.m., she was not reported missing until approximately 8 a.m. today, November 23rd.
Well, that's 12 hours, and she is an adult now. And in most adult cases, notice the word most, and adult for that matter, she's legally an adult. But in most cases, they're going to let adults come and go as their own free will. So sometimes missing persons reports can't be filed until after a certain amount of time, things like that. However, under the circumstances, they should have been reported right away because now she has a 12-hour head start.
Madison police released a security video from earlier in the month showing her carrying small bags. And as of this morning, November 23rd, authorities have confirmed she is missing, and they are urging the public to call 911 if she is spotted.
Yeah, I would think most people in that area were already a little on edge, as they should have been when she was released to their community back in, I believe, July. So now it's even more heightened, and there's going to be even more scrutiny upon the judge, this alleged, and I can say that now, expert witness that testified to her mental health production. This is a man.
And there's a lot of references to this, that this has not only been one of the crimes of that decade. There's obviously a popular documentary on HBO called Beware the Slender Man. That was released back in 2016. And, Law and Order Special Victims Unit has covered this. Criminal Minds has covered this. An episode of The Rookie. There's also a movie called Terror in the Woods that was a Lifetime film. I'm not much of a Lifetime person myself.
Me neither. Neither. Either way.
But Christina Ricci was involved as an executive producer on that film. So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a film called Mercy Black that is solely based on the Slender Man stabbing.
You know me in movies and things like that. I don't really partake in movies and such. I'm more of a reader when it comes to my crime.
Well, then I have something for you, because there are a couple of books about this as well. In a Dark Mirror by Kat Davis is heavily based on the case. They do change some details, sure. Obviously. The one that I lean toward, which I thought was a really good book, Slender Man, A Tragic Story of Online Obsession and Mental Illness. This is a Kathleen Hale book. There's a lot of in-person conversations in this book, and it's very well reviewed. So if you have not read that book, I would recommend that one to you.
Thank you for the suggestion. With everything that's going on with her being now missing, and I use air quotes in that because obviously it's on purpose because she cut off her ankle monitor, I have to be concerned about the survivor, Peyton. Now, was she notified? Before it all came out on the news, did anybody give her a heads up? Is she safe? Is her family safe? We can be on the lookout for Morgan 110%. But I'm also concerned for Peyton's safety.
I would hope that Peyton Leitner was notified as soon as possible, as soon as the authorities knew about this. But she has also decided to take a very low profile
Yes.
after this whole thing happened. She really focused on her schoolwork. She graduated high school with honors and is, from the last that we have read, she is working toward a career in the medical field, which I think is fantastic, especially for what she's gone through. But yeah, I mean, Peyton has to be just a little bit shaken by the fact that one of the two girls that took her out in the woods to sacrifice her to, quote, save their families is on the lam.
Yes. Obviously had no regard for her safety at 12 years old. Do you think they're going to have regard for her safety now? Sadly, I just don't foresee that. And it's obvious to me, and this is my opinion, there is no rehabilitating Morgan. So
no, Morgan is thinking of herself.
And always has.
Correct. What she's doing now, and my immediate fear, because there's been very limited information come out about this. We decided to record a bonus episode on this because
the breaking
the
news.
Slender Man case was a huge case that decade. I've said that many times in the 12 minutes you've been listening. But it reminds me of another case that we briefly discussed earlier about suitors going after communicating with people who are in prison who have committed
the incarceration infatuation.
Correct.
I just came up with that. You like it?
I like it.
Okay.
And there's a famous one. And
there's a few. I think there's a few.
Well, there's a few. I mean, for me, I think of the Diane Downs. That's the one that kids, if you really want to go down a bizarre rabbit hole of true crime and you have not heard the name Diane Downs, first of all, you're welcome.
Yeah.
But there still to this day are suitors for Diane Downs after what she did.
Yeah. What else she did, and this is far, far less understated than what she did. But anyway, she ruined Duran Duran for me.
Yeah, that's fair. We were talking about another one too.
A couple of them that come to mind real quick. The Menendez brothers. So
did they have suitors?
I believe at least one of them got married in prison.
Okay.
Hello, Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
She's a trip, man. She is a trip. I did not mean to sound like Tommy Chong there, but that girl is a trip.
Now, she went through a lot in her lifetime. I mean, that was a clear case of Munchausen's before Munchausen's was a thing. So she really did go through a lot. But her post-prison life is definitely a trip. I'm gonna let you have that.
I think Gypsy had Munch before the Hausen was involved.
Yeah.
That's how early her Munchausen started.
Well, she was a victim of Munchausen. So I guess that really works. Oh, gracious.
So let's go back to Miss Geyser for a moment. Of course, her disappearance that is going on right now as you listen to this, unless breaking news happens, has obviously reignited fears in the Sun Prairie community because some neighbors don't feel safe knowing that she was moved into their neighborhood in the first place.
Exactly. And now this has happened. So they were obviously right. They were right to be concerned from day one. Now I'm going to go anytime that there is something going on in the community and there's any type of trial or anything and they pull up this expert witness, I'm going to say, and sir, the last time you testified in a case as an expert witness, what happened? Well, she was released upon my recommendation and she escaped. Okay, well, no further questions.
Exactly. They wouldn't be sitting on a hot seat. They'd be sitting on a seat that was on fire.
Front and can see the flames of hell.
So, I mean, one of my questions is, how did she remove her monitor so easily? Because it just seems like it was obviously planned.
Obviously, because you have to know the workings. Well, I would say you have to. I don't know. So maybe you don't have to. But I would think that you have to know the workings of the monitor, like the intricacies of the digital technology that it exudes and the electronics within and all of the kind of things that I am certainly not familiar with. I am tech stupid.
I have never worn an ankle monitor. There are a couple of periods in my life where I probably should have.
Mm-hmm. I've never worn one on purpose.
No, I've never worn one that I know of. Well, now we all carry around ankle monitors because we're tracked 24/7. You know, all you have to do is think about a product, and then you'll see Facebook ads for it for weeks. But I've never legitimately worn an ankle monitor, so I don't know how easily or how difficult they are to get off.
I don't either, but back in the day, I did know someone that wore one and they had to take it off at a specific time for a limited amount of time to charge it. Now, I'm sure that's all different and that's all changed. So here in the tech age, again, this was obviously planned.
And, and this brings up another point to me. This brings up the push and pull of rehabilitation versus public safety,
Mm-hmm.
because this judge was just dead set that she was fine, everything's fine,
We're all fine.
And she gets moved to
a supervised group home.
Who was supervising it? Stevie Wonder and Jeff Healey? Anyway, she's on the loose, on the lam. So, I mean, these decade-long commitments to rehabilitation have to come into question at some point. And it's going to be, it's more of a political thing. There's one side that believes rehabilitation is the only way to go. There's another side that believes, no, they should rot in prison or worse. It doesn't really matter which side you fall on, because no matter how you fall, you're going to believe what you believe.
Well, and it's funny that you say that, because I remember when the initial story broke and the interview that you can see in the police office through their camera, they were asking her what happened. And she said something to the effect of, "Are you going to send me to prison or I'm going to rot and die?" And at 12 years old. And she understood the consequences.
And she sat in court pretty much emotionless the entire time. Like, she showed, the other young lady showed remorse for the stabbing.
Morgan did not.
Not at all. She sat, I mean, we're talking like almost a Michael Myers situation. She sat
at that young age. That's
emotionless.
Psychopathic.
That some would tend to agree with you. So, you've got mental health experts that argue both sides. She's improved, but some past concerns, like her communications in treatment. Others don't necessarily believe that. And, if you want to go so far, there's a larger debate. How do we balance mercy and vigilance when someone convicted of a violent crime is re-entering society?
She shouldn't have.
And she re-entered society early because she broke the law and took off her ankle monitor, and now she's loose.
So her sentence absolutely 100% should have been commuted from that mental health facility to prison. And planting my flag on that. Again, my opinion, and we know what opinions are like.
So the internet horror story began with a fictional figure, the Slender Man.
The Slender Man. Can we say his name 2 times? Is that okay?
No, don't do it.
Okay.
We just got the dog settled.
We did.
Not the cat. I don't know where she's at. But the consequences of all this are painfully real.
Yes.
You have a victim that is now reliving everything all over again because one of the people that is supposed to be put away or safely tucked away from her is now loose because she was able to jimmy an ankle monitor. Ridiculous. So as Morgan Geyser disappears again, we're reminded the aftermath of that stabbing never ended. It's going on right now. It's 2025. It's 2025.
Yeah, so 11 years later, and now Peyton has to go through this all over again.
All over. Now, to lighten the load just a little bit, because we've been a little heavy here. Did you ever have one of those stories as a child or a teenager? I won't say similar to Slender Man, but was there an urban legend in your town that you recall?
That's a tough one, considering I grew up in different places, and not to be heavy, but in the Michigan area, we didn't have an urban legend. We actually had the Oakland County child murderer and the whole Jimmy Hoffa thing.
That's interesting because we have discussed that as a potential podcast, probably a one-off.
Yes, and I think I told you about my terrifying moment.
You did.
About that.
Yep.
So now, being down south where I was ingrained with the Latin culture, there was cucuys and the chupacabra.
The chupacabra, yes, of course.
But yeah, cucuy. But nothing else that I can really think of.
So we had a bridge south of town. I grew up in small town Oklahoma.
Okay.
We had a bridge south of town, and the bridge was called Bloody Mary's Bridge.
Oh.
And there was an urban legend that this character, Bloody Mary, I don't know what to call her, character, Bloody Mary, lived under or around that bridge.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on who you're talking about teenagers. We don't know how to tell a story when we're teenagers. So the urban legend was that if you drove your vehicle onto the bridge, turned it off, got out of your vehicle, and said Bloody Mary 3 times out loud, that she would appear.
Yeah.
Now, I only had one experience with that. I was dumb enough to do this, and I will tell you, as a teenager, a dumb teenager at that, a dumb teenage boy, dumb teenage boy.
Triple threat.
I just want to make sure those facts are laid out there. I went out to the bridge, shut my car off, went to the side, said Bloody Mary 3 times. What I saw, I'm not exactly sure of. What I think I saw was some very light green lights down below the bridge, just like a vapor.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm explaining this very well. This is great for podcasting, by the way, because I'm trying to explain.
Getting the visual.
Okay. like green vapor just,
I'm imagining kind of like the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, just kind of like a green floating light.
yeah, but just green.
Yes.
Okay. So it floating. And then, of course, I got scared. I went back to my car. My car wouldn't start.
That's exactly why I wouldn't turn my car off.
Well, but that's part of the thing.
I know.
Okay.
But as a teenage girl.
Well, no, as a teen.
That's what I'm saying. I would not have turned my car off.
So my car wouldn't start for, I mean, it seemed like 45 days. It was probably about 45 seconds.
Sure.
And then the car fired up and I took off, and I never did that stupid crap again. Now, I had another experience that is not going to be shared on this podcast. We'll talk about this potentially later, because I don't even think I may have told you this story one time a long time ago.
No, I have not even heard the one you just told, so I'm going with no.
I knew you hadn't heard that one, but I had an experience with a Ouija board.
Oh.
Had a very good brother and sister friend that I spent a lot of time with. And there were 4 of us, I believe. There were 2, my friend and I, and then his sister and her friend. So there were 4 of us, and we were playing with the Ouija board, and the lights went out. And that's where I'm going to stop, because still to this day, I've not played with a Ouija board since. Not one time. And I must have been maybe 12 or 13 when this happened.
Oh, so about the same age as these girls when the whole Slender Man thing happened.
Correct.
And you were terrified enough to not do it again.
Correct.
And here we are with an attempted murderer on the loose.
Exactly. I learned my lesson from the lights going out, but what happened after that was enough for me to go, okay. And I don't see a Ouija board on Facebook or see a Ouija board somewhere else and just turn around and run or anything like that. It's not to that point. I respect the Ouija board enough. I even, I'll be honest, I even had just a little bit of an issue during oh my gosh, this is terrible podcasting right now. It was the found footage movie, not the Blair Witch Project. That's one of my favorites. It was the one that came later, and it was the husband and wife who had moved into the house. Paranormal Activity. There is a scene during Paranormal Activity, I believe, where there is a Ouija board involved, and that still bothers me. Okay. But that's it.
I know you can tell by the blank stare on my face. I have never seen it. And anybody that's been listening any amount of time knows that is factual, and they're not surprised either.
The disappearance of Morgan Geyser is not just a missing persons case.
Nope.
It's a crossroads of mental illness, criminal justice, and community trust. As her fate unfolds, we will continue to monitor this situation carefully, and hopefully she is found sooner rather than later.
I hope so, because all 3 of those things that you mentioned have been breached. Community trust, everything.
If you have any information about Morgan Geyser's whereabouts, please call the Madison Police or 911. And please remember to subscribe to The Last Clue on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, keep searching for The Last Clue.